Welcome to the Blessed Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Raquel Tosin. This is a special Valentine's Day episode. I love because I am love. Okay, if you didn't know, now you know. But guess what? You are love too. All right. So let me just start with this. I'm broadcasting on WYTV7 Christian Broadcasters Network, and we are a radio broadcast with a mission to empower, educate, and encourage. And today I'm encouraging you about love with my special guest, Susan Bratton. She's a relationship expert. But let me tell y'all, I'm sure y'all heard people say they're a relationship expert all the time. But I read one of her books, and oh my goodness, it's so good. And she's a relationship expert. I don't want to talk about a whole lot of other stuff because I want to get into this, but I need you to go and subscribe to the Blessed Podcast YouTube channel. I need you to go and watch the one about Christmas dinner and leave a comment, and I'll send you a free book by Arthur Pat Simmons. She sent us some books to give everybody. And then I'm sure Susan is going to want you to go do that and go to the episode with that right now and leave comments, and we'll give you something. We'll give you a discount or something. All right, Susan, you know what? I'm not going to give a whole big introduction about you because I want you to talk to the people, but you give us a quick introduction about you.
Okay. Hi, Raquel. It's so good to be on the Blessed Podcast. Thank you so much for having me. And I love doing a Valentine's Day episode with you. Let's talk about love.
Yeah.
What I do is I help people transform their connection into passion. I'm a person who loves to help people become more heart connected and intimate. That's really my expertise, is in a way, removing the roadblocks between the things you want and what you have. And I'm kind of a Dear Abby of sex and relationships. And mostly what I do is I give people good advice. I've always been just kind of everybody's mama, telling them the right things to do. When I was a little girl, they called me Grandma Susie because I was bossing everybody around even when I was a little tiny girl. I already knew what everybody should be doing. And my mom said, well, you seem to know what you're doing, so go ahead.
That's so funny because my mom used to say that people thought they would always ask, older people like they would say, you've been here before. Because it's like, this little baby is just wise. And so I'm Mama Raquel to most people too. And even my friends that know how crazy I am, like crazy, they will still come to me for advice. So that tells you something, right?
I love it. Right. A lot of what I end up doing is giving people permission to have what they want. Mm-hmm. And to understand when it just takes a little more work to get what you want, or whether what you're going for isn't really the right thing. And I think that's what's so hard about love, is that sometimes when you're single, you think you have this idea of what you're looking for. And then when you actually fall in love, you're completely surprised that it's entirely different. Or then you get into a relationship that you think is all the perfect things on paper, and yet it doesn't satisfy you. And that's why I think the book you read of mine, I've written 34 books and programs over the last 15 years, but I think the book you read was Relationship Magic. Is that right?
Yes, that's the one. It's good. It's good. And wait, let me stop you for a second because I've had other guests. We have to throw out the superficial list.
Right.
There's a superficial list that we have, because you talk about relationship values. Now that's a list that people need to think about. And then you say only 4. So it's not a long list.
It's not.
Oh my gosh. Like, why did you cap it at 4?
Well, most people can really only manage a couple of behaviors in any given day. So let me explain what relationship values are, so you get a level set on it for your listeners and your viewers. Really, that superficial list you're talking about is the list of, I want someone who's accomplished or intelligent, or they, have a nice house, or they're a certain height or a certain look. Those are the superficials. The things that are the most important actually in relationship are what you value most in your relationship. They are your personal values, your value system. And your value system is very intersectional. It comes from where you were born, the church you came up in, your family dynamics, the color of your skin, your gender, your age, the country you live in, the time you were born in. All of those things and more have the traumas you've experienced, all of those things create what you value most. And when you have certain values, these are what I like to call your deal breakers in a relationship. And what happens for people who've been in a relationship for a while where where they're not really feeling very satisfied, nourished, enriched, and fulfilled by the relationship, it's often that their partner is just not clear on what they really want out of the relationship.
Mhm.
What you want, your partner can't figure it out. You have to tell them. That's the thing and if you don't know, if you haven't figured it out yourself, you can't tell them. So this process of understanding what your relationship values are, they could be things like faith or community or family or philanthropy and giving back or invention or communication or freedom or passion. There are in my little relationship magic book, which you can get at myrelationshipmagic.com at discount. Don't buy it on Amazon. I've got a discount link at myrelationshipmagic.com. It is actually, and I'm going to tell you how to do it. You don't have to get the book, but it's sometimes nice to have the page. On page 21, there's like, I don't know, 80 different words that get you started of
So
thinking about
let
it.
me stop you right there, because I want to talk about some of these words, because so you have it like categorized. And when I look at, so like my top one is acceptance, because that's who I am for people anyway. And that's because it's like, be a safe space, which means ultimately acceptance. But then you have words underneath it. And then I was like, yeah, that's a good one. That was good. So I'm like, how can I pick four if all of these are under acceptance? And then my other one, like the thoughtfulness.
Yeah.
That's another like key one, because like just appreciation and gratitude and, all of these things. And so, because I like picked three, and like mastery is another good one, but they have so many things under them. How do I pick just four out of that three categories? And wait, let me tell everybody, yes, you need to go get the book. You need to go down below the book. It's gonna be in the chat everywhere, because we cannot even do this justice in 30 minutes. You need to get this book. Okay, but go ahead, Doctor.
Yeah, it's a good little couples exercise. And I actually call it a workbook. It's like doing an exercise together if you're in a relationship, or if you're single. It really helps you get clear on what it is you need most out of a relationship with someone, so that when you meet a person, you can say to them, here are the things that I really need to be in relationship. This is what's important to me. And when you're talking about any particular word like mastery, I'll give you a good example of mastery. So for mastery, when you say that that's one of your relationship values, what does that mean to you? Give me some examples of what that means.
Well, I think I'm looking at the words down here, and inspiration comes to mind, because I'm always like, I get inspired a lot, and I need somebody to embrace that, because that's like because you may talk and then I'm like, oh my God, inspiration. And then I want to share with you. But if you're like, because that's like really a part of who I am. I mean, somebody will tell me their idea and I'm like, listening, I get so inspired. I'm like, yes, run with that, because that's so inspiring. And, so it's important. But then, I have like a ton of degrees, and I don't care if a person has degrees or not, but that means education is important. Learning, constant learning. I don't have to go to school to learn it, but I'm constantly reading books. I'm constantly meeting people and I want to learn more about what they're saying. And so I need somebody to understand that, education is good. We're always learning. Let's go and let's do stuff that we can learn more. Let's go to a different country and learn about the culture of that country,
Yeah. So I'll give you a good example of that. A good word that you might consider would be curiosity. You want your partner to be a person who's curious like you are. You want them to have endless curiosity, something like that. And when you were talking about mastery, it reminded me of my daughter. One of her top relationship values is competence.
Mm.
She doesn't want to be with a partner who isn't competent at things. She likes to always have, she's a big adventurer. She's actually rock climbing in Turkey right now.
Wow.
And getting her master's degree remotely from a university in France. So she's always out in the world adventuring. So any partner that she has to be very competent. They have to be safety minded. They have to know how to take things apart and put them together, how to rig things, how to deal with the problems that life throws in your way. That's really important for her because she doesn't want to always be the one that has to handle everything and fix everything. She wants someone who is as competent or even more competent than she is. So when you talk about inspiration, what I think that's tied into is also a part of your curiosity. You're looking for information that inspires you and leads you to more greatness. And that could actually turn into something more like, for some people, they might call that ambition. Someone who is always learning, always growing, always inspired to do more and to offer more and to become more. Someone else might use the word ambition. It really doesn't matter what word you pick. I'll give you a perfect example. My husband's number one relationship value is passion. And at first, I thought that meant, oh, you want to make love every day. And he said, well, yes, okay, sure, I would do that. But really what it means for my husband is he loves to be touched. He loves connection. He loves it when I pet his hair. He loves it when I sit on his lap. He loves it when I kiss his cheek. He cannot walk by me without kissing me. He just can't. He's very kinesthetic. He's a touchy-feely guy. So his number one relationship value is passion, but he describes it he gives me specific examples. My number one relationship value is security. And what that means to me is someone who watches over me, always has their eye on me. I'm not going to be hurt or harmed. My husband is a protector for me. I've got good tires on my car. He doesn't let them go bald. We have a burglar alarm in our home and he always locks up before we go. He always makes sure we have health care. That's a priority because if that's your number one thing is your health. Yeah. So these are the things that lower my stress and make me calm calm and taken care of. And the thing about your relationship values is the way you figure them out. You look at this big list and you've got like, well, there's 20 things I want here. Okay, there's 20 things you want, but there's a lot of things you can do for yourself. There's a lot of things you really don't necessarily need from your partner. When you're talking about relationship values, what you're talking about is, what do I want from a person I'm in relationship with? And here's the kicker. I wouldn't be in the relationship if I couldn't have it. Wow. So if I couldn't have this, would it be worth it for me? No. If I wasn't with someone who kept me safe, I wouldn't be in the relationship with them.
You know what? You made me think of something when you said protection, because it just makes me think like that long list we're talking about, how a lot of women, not all women, but a lot of women, they, I want a man that makes money. And to me, when they say all that, I really hear protection. Yeah. So they really need to understand that it's not about making six figures. Yeah. I guess it depends on where you live, because here in LA, maybe, you know what I'm saying? But if you live somewhere else, where six figures, you didn't need six figures to make sure that that person had the health insurance, that had the home, a nice home that the landlord could put you out of, because that is when you rent, you do run that risk that you can get put out even if you pay all your bills. So I can see that when some women say I need a man that makes a lot of money, really that what they might be saying is I just need to feel protected.
Yeah. Yeah. And it took me many years into my marriage to admit that what my number one relationship value was security, because my
Mm-hmm.
mom had raised me. I was born in 1961. And my mother had raised me and she'd had a couple of not great marriages. And she said, never trust a man to take care of you. Always have your own money. Never pool your funds. You can't rely on them. And so I was always this, strong businesswoman who was going to be self-reliant. And when I got very, 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 very honest with myself, I realized that I wasn't my mother and I didn't want to be in a relationship where I couldn't trust the man to have my back. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to always have to have a side bank account with side cash that I was using as, insurance or protection against something going wrong. I wanted to be with someone I could trust that it would never go wrong, that they would have
Mm-hmm.
my back. And there's another thing that I'll tell you. There's two things I'd like to say about that. One is that, of course, in the masculine feminine spectrum, we women have become more masculine, and we're still holding on to our femininity. We're becoming more holistic in our approach to who we show up as in the world. We have more opportunities for strength and equal income wage earning and things like that. But when you're talking about relationship, you're usually talking about heterosexual monogamous relationships. That's the grand, number of relationships what most people are. And so you're really dealing with a masculine person and a feminine person who also, men these days, we're asking them to have more feminine emotions. We're asking them to get in touch with their feelings and letting them know it's okay to have that, to not just always default to anger or victimhood because their emotional range is so low. And so we're becoming more and more alike in some ways, but in other ways, we are as different as we've ever been throughout time, because women are estrogen dominant and men are testosterone dominant. And a man simply being testosterone dominant shows up in life with way more confidence. He doesn't have to worry about people trying to rape him. I mean, certainly men do get, physically abused and sexually abused, and it's actually more rampant than we even understand.
Yes, it is.
But they don't walk into a room worried about themselves. They walk into, this is the male patriarchal strength that they actually just, they're born with it. And a part of it is society, but a part of it is that they're testosterone dominant, and it literally gives them balls. It makes them confident, right? Where
Right.
women don't have that. We show up in the world a little bit worried and in a bit of fear for our safety and our security. And so when we partner in a relationship, in a heterosexual relationship, we need and want protection. And
Yeah.
that is normal. And it's just a part of being the human species, the Homo
Yeah.
sapien animals that we are.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? You made a statement. I forgot where I read it, if it was in the book or if it was something else. But you said treat a man the way he wants to be treated. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of times when I hear people talk about relationships, it's a lot of times what we want as women.
Yeah. Yes.
But do we really listen to what men want? Because men, like you said, testosterone, they do want something different than us.
Yeah.
Whereas we, like I have, like I said, a lot of degrees, and I think that my degree is like a plus to men. And men like, I don't care about your degree. It's like that's not important to me. Like how what do you say to women about, understanding that it's not just about what they want, but once they know what they want, but then they also have to be open to what the person wants, so the person that you might think you want might not be the best person for you because you're not what he wants.
Well, I'll make it simple and then we can delve into this more if you want to. But basically, the notion of relationship values is that once you understand what your relationship values are, you tell your partner what that is. I want security, I want freedom, I want passion, I want community, I want faith, I want family, whatever it is. And then they figure out what theirs are and tell you what they want. And then you get up every day and treat your partner the way they want to be treated. And they do the same for you. And those are totally different things. That their list and your list are different. They work your list and you work their list. And often you'll find that a good matched couple, generally, they're naturally doing a lot of those really important things. And there's only one or two where they're like, whoa, that explains a lot about your behavior to me.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know why you're acting that way. You're doing to me what you want me to do to you. When I first married my husband and he was touchy-feelying me all the time, I felt like he was always grabbing me. I wasn't used to it. And it's kind of like training a dog. If you ever get a little puppy, sometimes they're shy and they don't always want to be petted. But over time, they learn to like being petted. And then after a while, they're all up in your lap waiting to get the petting. And
Right.
that was kind of how it was with me. I didn't realize that what my husband was doing was actually doing to me what he wanted me to be doing to him.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. But so if a person, so if they're not in a relationship, so we have some single people out there,
Yeah.
they find out what their values are.
Yeah.
But how do they have that conversation with people that they're dating? Like, is that in the first date? Is that, you wait till y'all really like each other? Or, like when do you bring that up?
I think it really depends.
Mhm.
Um, I'm the kind of person who thinks it's always good to be upfront with people
Mhm.
and say what you need and ask for what you want,
Mhm.
because I think generally people want to give you what you want. And if they can't or don't, you'll find out sooner. So when you're with someone and you say to them, here are the things that are the most important to me in a relationship, and I'd love to find out what's most important to you. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. And that's that. When we talked about what does a man want, what men want is to win, to be winners. They're very challenge oriented. They're up for the challenge,
Okay.
but they want to do a good job. They want to get things right. They want to be acknowledged for it. They want the wins. They want to be acknowledged for the wins. Baby, thank you so much for bringing me some chili in bed. I was starving and you take such good care of me. Thank you so much. Whatever it is, like every little thing they do for you, when you acknowledge that, that puffs them up in a
Mm.
way that they need. Where women, what we need more from our man, because he's our rock, he's our support, he's our stability, he's our knight in shining armor. What we want from him is encouragement.
Mm.
So, you know, I want, baby, I think you should go for that job because you are qualified. You're probably more qualified than anybody else. Look at all the degrees you have.
Mhm.
I want you to go for it. I've got your back and I believe in you.
Mhm.
And you won't know until you try, right?
Yeah.
So encouragement, that's what we need.
Mm, that makes so much sense to me. I hope it's making sense to everybody out there. It's so good. I just want to let people know that we're just talking about the relationship magic, but one of the things I'm gonna need you to come back for next Valentine's Day because we need to have a conversation about sex.
Yes.
And I know that the title of this podcast is blessed, and people think, and then we're on a Christian broadcast network that we can't talk about sex. Well, I want to talk about sex, especially because married people, they need to enjoy sex,
Yes.
like, right. And so let's
Yes.
talk to the married people, and the single people can still come too, because I sex is, I'm but I want to talk about that. But if they did want to, if they don't want to wait to next year, do you have books on that?
Sure do. Lots of them. The best place to find all my work is at personallifemedia.com. And
Personallifemedia.com.
yes,
Okay.
and really, I don't even like the word sex.
Really?
I like to say that what I do is I teach people how to transform having sex into making love. I
Okay.
like to think about passionate lovemaking. I
Mhm.
like to think about heart connection. I like to think
Mm.
about sensuality,
Mhm.
intimacy.
Mhm.
One of my best techniques is the soulmate embrace. And you can get it, it's a free download. It's at soulmateembrace.com.
Okay.
And what it does, it's really, we've been talking a lot on this particular segment about what I call polarity, the magnetism of the masculine and the feminine.
Mhm.
And no matter where you are on the gender spectrum with your partner, you can still have the masculine feminine magnetism. It doesn't matter what gender identity you have, you can always have that. But one of the things that's really, I think, that doesn't happen enough is that people think about sex, so they think about intercourse, and they think,
Right.
okay, well, we've got to have intercourse, and maybe we do other things in the bedroom too, but it's always, slot A into tab B type of thing. And that's just such a tiny, tiny part of love making,
Mhm.
of intimate connection, of sensual pleasure, of having a beloved, of looking in each other's eyes,
Mhm.
of being held and holding. And the soulmate embrace is how a woman wants to be held by a man. I teach you how to hold a woman, and I teach a woman how to allow herself to be held and to finally get the holding that she's been craving her whole life.
Mm.
When a guy holds a girl, he usually holds her and then she relaxes
Mhm.
and he lets go. But the
Mhm.
soulmate embrace in that moment, that's his signal to actually pull her tighter, to pull her closer, and to take a very long, slow, loving embrace to the point. I always say, because guys like a goal, women don't need so much of a goal, but men are like, so what's the objective here? Like that's what they want to know. Like, what's the bottom line? What are the
Right.
3 steps to doing a really good job at it?
Right.
Um, and what I say is, um, you want to hold her until a little drool comes out of her mouth,
Oh
where
my
she's
goodness.
so relaxed, she's drooling a little,
Wow.
where tears might come to her eyes a little, where she's let down. She's really letting down her defenses and completely relaxed, because arousal begins in relaxation. A
Oh, that's
woman who is
good.
stressed is not going to surrender to passionate lovemaking. But if she's relaxed by her man, held safe in his arms, she's letting go of the world, she's like, and there's that little
That's
bit of drool. That's the moment to start kissing her forehead and stroking her hair and kissing her on the neck and running your hands down her body and stroking her like a kitty cat. Women love to be pet like a kitty cat. We love that top to bottom, full body. And when a man really
wow.
learns how to hold a woman,
Mhm.
then they connect their hearts, connect their breath,
Mhm.
connect their eyes. And instead of a performance of sex, instead of having sex, I'm going to
Mhm.
push this button and turn this knob.
Right.
Now he's relating to her vulnerably and connected and
Right.
slowly.
Wow. That's awesome. Okay. If you are not convinced that you should go to Susan's website and download that embrace,
Soulmate
I
embrace.
the what? Again,
Soulmate embrace. Just go to
soulmate embrace.
soulmateembrace.com.
Soulmateembrace.com. You sold me. I'm going to get it. And it's going to be, reading for everybody that think they want to date me. Okay. Because that's so, oh my gosh, that was so good. We are, out of time, really.
It goes fast.
It goes too fast.
So nice to be
And
with you. You're adorable. And I
thank
love all
you.
your degrees. Thank you for having them. Thank you for being a beautiful, bright, light, and intelligent, amazing woman.
Thank you. Thank
Our
you.
time,
Thank you.
my time with you has been precious.
How did you know that that's my love language? Words of
Oh,
affirmation are
good.
my love language. And
Excellent.
you just made my day. Thank
Good.
you so much. And if any guy is out there listening, because I am single, now you know how to make me smile. Words of
Download the Soulmate
affirmation and
Embrace and
encouragement.
give Raquel a hug.
And not just any hug. I want that kind of hug, a
Soulmate
cute
Embrace
hug, a
hug.
soulmate embrace. All right. So, is there any other way? Like, do you work with people? Because we got to go, and I just want to make sure that everybody, if they want you in their lives to help them with their marriage or in the relationships, how else can they reach you?
Well, I always give away all my advice for free. So, anybody who's on my mailing list, if you download any of the things we talked about, you'll be on my email list. And if you ever have any questions, just send me an email. I answer hundreds of them every month. It's what I do. So I'm just here to help.
Oh my gosh, you are so, as God is going to send so many blessings on you for helping his people like you do for free, because that is very uncommon, everybody. It is
Well,
very uncommon for people to give you help for free. So please don't let this opportunity get past you. Go get the help that you need. And people are like, well, I don't need help. Everybody can use some help in that
definitely.
situation. I've heard stories. I've women that's been married for a long time that don't even care to have sex anymore.
Yeah,
They need one of those soulmate embraces, I'm sure.
exactly.
Well, I appreciate you so much. And thank you guys for listening to Blessed, our special Valentine's Day edition. We will be back with our regularly scheduled uh, podcast. And we're still talking about love because it's February. So we're going to talk about love all
Good.
month long. Because why? I am love. You are love.
Yes.
Have a great Valentine's